you think, big man, that college is obsolete?
Well, you know what? That is our next story. And colleges, here's what I'll say about colleges. I have three boys, 13, 12, and 12. So college is obviously, my wife and I have had several conversations about college and stuff like that. And I've felt this way since I grew up in the generation partially before college was for everyone, and then while college was for everyone, right? You know what I mean? So I have a unique perspective from that. And I would think from 2021 going forward, I think anybody that is graduating, well, really in the last couple of years moving forward, I think as a parent and as a person, if you're listening to this and you're that 18, 19 thinking about college, or even 30 or 35 thinking about college, educate yourself to what that means for you and the cost of that, and weigh it towards your goals. Because we got out of this in the 90s when everybody should go to college and student loans, and we all know the student loan debts and yada yada. We got into this that everyone should go to college, and the prices of college have increased hundreds of times over in that same time period. And the dollar amount you get saddled with for your degree and what that degree holds for you as far as income, everybody needs to weigh that equation. Should doctors still go to the college? Absolutely. Should
You
lawyers
have
still
to.
go to college? Absolutely. We're not talking about that. We're talking about,
Well,
should you go get a bachelor's degree in Sanskrit, a 10,000
yeah,
year old dead language, right? Just to say that you have a bachelor's degree. I think
right.
the myth of bachelor's degrees just open more doors to you is a thing of the past. You know, Elon Musk came out this week and said he doesn't even care if you have a high school diploma to work in his factories, to work on some of his artificial intelligence stuff. He wants you to have X, Y, and Z skills, and if you have X, Y, and Z skills, come work for me.
Yeah, and he is one of, and he's the precipice for us talking about this, but he is one of several entrepreneurs, several huge companies. Google being one of them. Google now issues a certificate in their own program. I think the program is three or four, $500 in that ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 6 months, and they find that to be equivalent to a bachelor's degree. Now, here's me. I'm a pretty anti-university guy because university and education are part of the leftist cabal known as the cathedral. And if I'm not going to dive into how the government inflated a system while at the same time encouraging young people to go take out debt. That some of these kids, some of these people are my age, will probably never be able to pay off some of this debt. And the incoming president was part and parcel of making sure they can't file for bankruptcy. Now, you're creative and you believe in yourself, you can reorganize your debt onto various credit cards, file for bankruptcy that way. But that might be immoral, and you probably
That would
shouldn't do
be,
that
yeah, a
because
scam is what that would be. But look, yes, you are right. Now, the argument to the opposite side of that, and I hear people making this argument, is that I have a friend of mine. She is a lawyer. She didn't know when she started college that she was going to be a lawyer. Ultimately,
wait, do
she
I know
ended.
this lawyer?
What's that?
Do I know
No, you
this
don't.
lawyer?
No,
Okay.
you don't. But the point is she ended up spending more than a decade in school to ultimately find her calling, which was end up going to law school or whatever. So she ended up getting a normal law degree from a prestigious law school here in Texas, by the way, but 200 grand
Yeah.
plus in student loan debt because she went to school for so long before she even got there. Now,
Yeah.
does the argument is every year when she signed up for student aid and signed up for those student loans, she is an adult. She knew what she was ultimately doing. She knew ultimately what her balance was going to be, right? At the end of the day, whatever. So the argument on the other side is yes, they are saddled. There's an entire generation saddled with student loan debt, right? Did they get into that student loan debt with open eyes? They are adults. Now, again, I'm not even saying I agree with that because I think you're right. It is holding especially millennials, it's holding them back from moving forward, of buying houses, buying cars, moving out from their parents' houses, being financially dependent, especially when you combine that with wages have definitely lowered for paying jobs, even with certain degrees and stuff like that.
But that is a net effect of um, when the college degree made you unique to employers, you got more money. But there's that scene in Incredibles, the original one, where the villain goes, "Well, if everybody's an incredible, nobody's an incredible. If
That's right.
everybody's a super, nobody's a super." So the more people who got degrees and the more universities, and we saw this influx of like schemy, scammy universities opening up.
Mm-hmm.
And because if there's a market there, people will go there and participate in providing the service. And when you said about law school, I have a couple lawyers in my family, and they'll tell you unless you're going to an elite law school that has at least a half dozen firms that recruit directly from the law school, and if you're not going on a scholarship, don't bother. If you're paying out of pocket, don't bother going.
Well, but again, that changes over time. That's the thing about jobs, right? At one point,
Yeah.
lawyers were in high demand and their pay went up, and it made that. That's why I say you have to weigh your what that gives you, that degree gives you. And basically, during this same time frame, they also created degrees that have
Yeah.
nothing to do with nothing, right? Because it wasn't about getting you ready for a job or the workforce, it was about tuition, 160 hours of tuition,
Yeah.
and give
And
you a degree. And I have my own issues with that. I don't believe there should be college degrees that don't prepare you for the workforce. If you're going to,
and that
colleges are going to charge you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to college, they should prepare you for a job.
And I think that is there is a divide in the basic principle of what is university for. Now, if you tell me university is to go have an experience, it goes there. You're going there to just learn how to learn, blah blah blah, learn. That's one thing. And then I'm saying, yeah, but you don't got to pay that much money. You and your buddies can go to whatever city and rent a house, and it turned into the culture of it turned into something different. And I think, and listen, I'm a person, I am all about, I'm a self learner. You have to be somebody who is constantly learning. I think the biggest problem we have is the existing system of education does not prepare children for the future, and it
Mm-hmm.
does not prepare them to learn how to love learning and how to be a lifelong learner.
And see, that's the difference to me. I am not. I look. People sometimes get, based on my opinion, they think I'm against education. I am 100% for lifelong learning and lifelong education.
But that
I
doesn't
can be
mean you're going to
against
school.
our K through 12 and college system without being against education.
So I am 100% in the same boat as you in the sense that I am 100% for lifelong learning, but I'm against schooling, right? And from the business perspective, let me put it to you and relate tie it into this other story. If you're sending your kid to university because you're hoping that they come back with some sort of marketable skill, the Paul brothers have tens of millions of dollars between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess 50 million in net worth. College and high school dropouts. Okay.
Right.
And we are seeing as the internet grows that freedom to earn a living. I know so many people making, they're not making millions. They might be making 70, 80, $90,000 a year with a micro business where they have a
Mm-hmm.
VA in the Philippines,
A side
in
hustle or
Bangladesh,
whatever.
whatever. I know guys who, they went from working at Starbucks, put together a side hustle while they were working at Starbucks, and they picked Starbucks because Starbucks offered the best healthcare for part-time employees. And they built a business cleaning windows, doing something. So the thing is, if you have a kid, and I was one of these kids, and my parents later started to understand me better as a young man and as an adult, were like, okay, shoving everyone into the university system is not an effective, it worked for a brief period of time. There was about 10 years in the early, like from, I would say 85 to 95. That's my belief.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just pulling that out of my bottom. This is idiots versus idiots. If you're expecting, accurate data and statistics, you've come
Go
to the
somewhere
wrong
else.
place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would say between those that decade, if you went to university, it paid off for you. It absolutely did, right?
Okay, well, but that again, you combine with it was much cheaper back
Uh
then,
huh. Of
and
course.
then it was much more difficult to get into the school back then.
Yes. Way
Okay,
harder.
and so everybody wasn't going. And then thirdly, you realize this whole pretend of bachelor's degrees open up doors for you is a good old boys club. You realize that that's created by other people's with bachelor's and master's degrees,
Yeah.
right? It's not created in reality. That
Of course
person
not.
that puts on a job application that was really popular, like you said, 1985, all the way into the 2005, 2010, right? Where, okay, if you don't have a bachelor's degree, you're automatically eliminated from a job. That was created by an entire generation of people that thought if you had a bachelor's degree, you were better, more intelligent, you were more well-rounded,
Right.
you were more whatever. And it was a lie. It was promulgated by a good old boys club where you're either in the club and you have a degree or you don't. And the reality of it, if you never agreed with that, then you if you've ever asked for a bachelor's degree that had nothing to do with the job, you're full of crap.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
And
saying? My
yeah.
brother-in-law has a marine fisheries degree. Okay, he doesn't work in anything relevant to fish.
Okay.
So if you accepted his marine fisheries degree just to give him a an interview, you're
Yeah.
full of crap that you think you need a bachelor's degree for the job.
Yeah. And so what? And you're not incorrect in the sense that there was, and definitely I felt this when I went to school. It was more the chicks I was talking to. They thought that this made them into something. I was like, nah, you're still just a dumb chick from, Edina, Minnesota, whose parents are paying too much money
Why is it
for
got to
her
be
to
a
go
dumb
to St.
chick?
Thomas.
Why
What's
you got to
that?
be a dumb chick? No, you're a dumb person, not a dumb chick. Okay, but
Okay, well,
yes,
Bella knows who she is, and I know she watches this podcast. So up
I
yours,
agree
Bella.
with what you're saying. The bachelor's degree in whatever random stuff, right? Does not make you, you know, and I think, look, there's also this thought process out there that college kind of took up this space between people being adults,
And
non-adults,
yeah,
18-year-olds that aren't quite adults, and then college kind of gives you that 4 or 5, 6 year gap between
to
you not
become an
quite
adult.
being an adult and
Yeah,
learning to be an adult.
but here's what I think, and I have a niece, lovely young lady. When she was in high school, I was like, you don't have to go to college. And her grandfather's my uncle. Was like, yeah, of course you don't have to do that. It's not a big deal. You don't have to go to college to succeed. This is America. If you don't make money, you're a douchebag. And she's like, no, no, no. People without college degrees, they flip burgers. That's what they do. And so in their high school, they're pushing the message you have to go to college. Now the teacher has no benefit if this girl goes to
It's
college
a
or not.
lie. It is a
Yeah, it's a complete
lie.
lie.
Again,
So
promulgated. It's a lie. There are
yeah,
millionaires after millionaires after
they're
millionaires after
billionaires.
millionaires that have no college degree. Some of them that have no. The guy that started the largest for-profit college university didn't graduate high school.
Good for him.
Okay? The largest for profit college that was ever created in history no longer exists, by the way, because for
Of course.
profit colleges or whatever. But
Yeah.
for profit college did not graduate high school. He just saw that college was a business opportunity. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying here? So it's a lie. Now, does it apply to being a doctor?
No,
Being,
of course.
whatever.
And here's the thing. I'm saying this is my belief, 10 or 15% of our population that will greatly benefit from going to university. The rest of our population will greatly benefit, a large portion of them, by getting a cybersecurity certificate, getting, like we'll link in the description to the Google program. They will benefit from getting these certifications. And with Dos Equis happening, I think we have revealed that if you're paying $30,000 a semester, there was a point where you go, okay, you're going to
Dude,
Duke.
that's not even $3,000. Baylor's 25 grand a semester.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're paying 25 grand a year to go to, or sorry, a semester, 50 grand a year to go to Baylor, and you're doing it over Zoom.
Well,
What?
because again, they've been told that that's what they do. Learn how to learn. Make your
Yes.
life about learning things that are interesting to you. Practice them, get better at them, and sell that service. But again, we are just now hitting that environment where people will, like your Elon Musks, and they won't be the only company ultimately that will accept that kind of learning and experience and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
There was a larger company, I can't remember, but I will end this story off by saying the most interesting to me, which is I got into an argument with multi-billionaire Shark Tank star Mark Cuban on Twitter
You love
on
to
an
drop
account that is now
names.
what's
You
that?
you love to drop names about people
Who
you
doesn't?
fight with on
Yes.
Twitter or
Who doesn't?
whatever.
Who
Go
doesn't?
ahead.
Him and I got into it on Twitter, Mark Cuban and I, and this was I mean, the self-esteem boost from this one Twitter interaction carried me for 6 years. About this very subject, and I said, "How do you solve the student loan crisis? You tell kids to stop going to school. Like you tell them get out there and start a business instead of if you went out and racked up $100,000 in credit card debt trying to start a business and you were unsuccessful, you can just go down to the federal courthouse, get the forms yourself online from LegalZoom, not a sponsor, file bankruptcy. And in 7 years, so if you start when you're 18 and you're going bankrupt by the time you're 21, before you're 30, you're done, right? Your credit's cleared. No one knows you filed bankruptcy. And you can, and your friends that graduated college that are just now getting their head above water, you'll have better experience than any of them. That's just my opinion.
That's the second or third time Danny has mentioned bankruptcy. I am not an advocate of using bankruptcy to help you in any way like Danny is. There is a way. I've never filed for bankruptcy. There is a way to do it and get to the other side without filing bankruptcy.
Sure.
So do that, folks, instead of listening to Danny, which is usually a
Okay.
general good idea, but I digress. Okay, so that is
If I understand correctly, the result here is don't listen to Danny, even though I'm the genius in this relationship. Which one of us is in Mensa? Not you.
self-proclaimed genius. I'm sure. Yeah, that's about
I
as far as I'm
identify
willing to
as a
agree with you.
genius, and in
You
2021, that's
identify.
all that matters.
You do identify as a Mensa card carrying, genius. That is what can I say? It's 2021. I can't argue with it.
You literally can't.
I literally cannot.